Right. So to start off, just making yourself comfortable in the chair. Take a few moments to feel settled. Not necessarily taking a particular posture, just something that feels comfortable, supported. Just have a sense of letting your attention settle into your body, however you're sitting, however you feel. Take a couple of slow, gentle breaths if that helps you. Remember to go very gently. So when we offer a particular posture or a particular movement, be aware of what's happening within your body. The idea is not to cause any sense of straining. And just sort of continuing that process, rubbing your hands together. And then tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to your shoulder and your arm. The other side. And the upper part of your chest. Down, tapping lightly on your belly. And then finally to your legs. Before we start to move, let's go over this little exercise that some of you have done with me before and releasing. So starting with your shoulders, you gently push your shoulders up towards your ears and slowly letting them drop down. So in the first instance, just paying attention to the feeling the big muscles in that area as your shoulders drop down. It's sort of ungripping, unclenching. Chances are that as we go to push our shoulders up, we stiffen up somewhere. And as you do that, just notice the effect it has on the feel, the quality of the movement. So when we talk about releasing as a translation of the Chinese term sung, we can expand that into not just the actual physical act of releasing, but I suppose what you could describe as the outcome. And then what we want to try and do is to maintain that quality as we push the shoulders up, which is generally a bit more difficult. So this is where a focused intention is useful. Notice where you might be sort of tensing, stiffening. Sometimes that can be quite surprising how we're doing that. And when you notice that, ideally our response would be to actually have that intention to release at that point, at that moment. Now we do the same thing in the middle of the body. Belly, lower back, hips, buttocks. So you can, for instance, just put your belly in and then releasing. What we often feel when we release like this in the center is that actually that feeling just expands through the rest of the body. We get a strong sense of dropping downwards. So we're no longer straining to somehow hold ourselves up. And again, trying to feel that quality of movement in both directions. See if you can come into the posture that we aim to use as much as possible. Forwards in your chair, tilting forward, so about a third of your weight in your feet. And when you feel that sense of releasing, notice also that it seems to sort of expose that stronger feeling within our body. So when we release, for instance, in the muscles of chest and upper back, become a little bit more aware of the rib cage and the chest cavity. So this brings our attention more deeply into our bodies and actually helps us to get a sense for how we are able to support ourselves without stiffening, without tightening. So with that sense very much in your attention, in your intention, that quality of movement, just starting to turn your head gently. Sometimes it's enough simply to have the intention to move in a particular way, to release, to maintain a particular feeling within the body. It doesn't always work because we might need to think about how we're moving, we might need to think about our posture, what kind of technical side to this. Both are important. Hands in front of your shoulders, pushing your elbows forwards. Try not to tighten up in your shoulders or chest or upper back. And then going forwards. Hands come down and out to your sides and just rotating your arms. And then rising up a little bit, rotating your arms, winding your fingers around. Just trying to get that feeling of releasing into all the joints, shoulders, elbows, wrists, and fingers. And then back the other way. Rest. Tilting forwards a little bit, so more of your weight goes into your feet, and then pushing down through your feet, feeling your legs expanding, pushing your shoulders back. So one of the really useful sort of outcomes of this feeling of releasing is finding a way to maintain that quality, the quality of the movement, the sense of spaciousness we feel within the body when we're not straining, the lack of strain in itself, as well as the quality of the movement. Then we can begin to feel how to come upright without having to strain. So there's a push from the legs, there's a pull from your hips. So one of the things that can often contribute to that feeling of releasing is to recognise that when we're moving with a focus on a particular part of the body, in this case back and shoulders, we're still trying to use more of the body, so the effort is distributed, and that helps to avoid straining in specific parts of the body. But still, you may notice a stiffening up somewhere, somehow, and still the intention would be to try and encourage the releasing in that area. and then turning a little. So this is using, amongst other things, the idea of intention, drawing on a memory of previous movements, and with a very sort of, uncomplicated objective to reproduce a feeling. Turn in the other direction. And then going around. And then change direction. Try not to stiffen in your hips and lower back. Come back to the upright position. Shift across slightly, push one foot out, put the heel down, lower the ball of your foot. Press it gently, planting the foot. This time, having planted the foot, follow up with your weight. The other side. Empty step first of all, no weight going in. Only after you've planted the foot, you let your weight transfer. Alternating from side to side. Slight shift across. Try not to strain in your back, your shoulders as you do that. Don't lean over, just let your weight sort of shift slightly. Settling in again for a moment. Hands drop to your sides, arms feeling quite heavy, turning your hands palm forwards. Combining some of the movements we just did. Weight going forwards, arms rotating. Try not to stiffen up in your arms as you come back upright. This is bird folds its wings. So that intention to move in a particular way, but also an awareness of the connections from feet to hips. Where are those connections within our bodies? Our bones, our skeleton are an important part of that. some you're forwards, leaving your hands facing backwards. Sit back and just let your arms follow. And then pushing forwards. Fisherman castanet. So you're using feet and hips to propel this movement, your upper body tilting forward, so trying again not to strain in the upper part of the body, just feeling this almost wave-like quality of movement flowing through your body. And again, try not to stiffen up in shoulders or elbows, wrists or fingers. The image of moving through water can be a useful one to help to generate and cultivate this feel of the movement. This time, in this position, leaving your arms out there so that they get drawn over. Imagine the ball underneath your arms, rolling the ball in towards your chest. Feeling the expansion, working up the belly, solar plexus, chest. Again, like a wave, this time coming up from your legs, underneath your arms, pushing your arms up. As you come back this time, turning your hands palm in, pushing your elbows out, opening across your chest. Pigeon spreads its wings. It's almost like you've got a ball now between your arms and you're letting the ball gently expand and then compressing it in. So this image in particular means that we can begin to feel quite a lot of the upper part of the body is in one way or another engaged in this movement. One more time. Drawing your hands back, more in front of your hips, turn them palm forwards, pushing away. Then overextend your arms. Shouldn't go any further forwards in the knees, maybe not even that far with knees, feet. You don't want to be right out there because you'll start to stiffen, straining your shoulders. pushing wave, now combining this with the stepping that we did earlier. So again, that slight movement across, a little bit of a turn, extending your foot and planting, pushing forwards. Sit back, bring the foot in, plant down here, and then on the other side. Last time. Feedback parallel. Roll your fingers into a hollow fist. Pushing forwards and your arms rotating and back. And again, be careful of overextending your arms. I'll show you from the side. This is how far the arms go without the body moving. So from here to here, notice the angle of my elbow. I haven't gone right out there. The rest of the movement is this. We've done a number of times already. So when we put the two together, that's how far the arms will go. Open your fingers here, turn them palm out, wind back, and once again, push away. How it opens chest, upper back. And then turning your hands palm down, just slightly above the level of your hips. Turn, ease forwards, lengthen through back, spine, through arms and fingers. Swing across and back. Settle into your centre and then change direction. Just polishing the table. So just really, again, keeping a strong focus of attention, that centre part of your body. I'm going to stand up and show you the standing version of this so that you can see the movement in the hips, which isn't as clear, I think, when we're seated. But here, I turn, notice how I push my hips back. And then I swing them across, come back. And same thing going in the other direction. So we want to try and feel that. Obviously we don't want our hips to slide around on the chair, so we want to feel that inside the body. In particular, hips dropping back a little bit more. To help you with this, place one hand on your belly, just around about the level of your navel. So as you do this, just doing it one-handed, moment. Just see if you can feel the movement in the centre of your body. This is the area sometimes referred to as the lower dantian. Changing sides. Getting aware of what's happening underneath your hand in the centre of the body. And then just do a couple more rounds, both hands. This time when you come back, staying in the upright position, turning your hand palm up, a gentle push from your feet and your hips, expanding in that centre part of your body, pushing your arms up and then contracting, pressing down. So in order for your arms to go up, there's a downward movement through your feet and your hips. Hence the name of the exercise, which is rooting down. One more time. And then turning your fingers out. This time the expansion, pushing your arms away from your body so they swing up. The exercise, wild goose. So carrying this image of a bird in flight, which may offer certain qualities to you. Easing forward, so now your hands can drop all the way down onto your knees, sitting back into your hips and expanding, parting the clouds. Now staying back, again letting your arms drop down, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, bringing the focus of your attention to one side and again expanding, pushing your arm upwards, winding around and drawing your arm down. Dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Again, feeling the weight of your arms, the weight of your body on your hips, and then same thing on the other side. So try not to hurry the changeover. Bringing your arms to the side of your body, lightly touching the sides, pushing in two directions. The first direction, lengthening through your back and spine. Coming back, taking the time, don't rush yourself, to return to that light touch on the side of the hips. And then pushing out, your arms rotating until the palms of your hands face out and back. Feeling the subtle contrasts in the movement, particularly in your back and spine. And then it's time when you push out, just turn a little in the center of your body. And back, lightly touching your sides. In that moment when you do that, when you return, there's just an opportunity to, once again, to settle, to release, and finishing the set off with push out to the sides. So any sort of straining, any misalignment, blocking that occurred during the actual movement is given the chance just to drain away. So the two directions have now become four directions. Let's do one more round of this. From here, extend one foot, knees slightly bent, turning your hands palm up, ease forward, leaving your weight sinking back in the chair, feeling the spine lengthen and then contract, helping to draw you up. But again, it's not just in your back and your shoulders. You want to feel, as you go forward, there's a bit of weight in this leg, so this leg gets compressed, so there's a bit of a push back up from there. Scooping the sea and looking at the sky. Then, rolling your fingers into a hollow fist, going forwards, your arms swing around. Ideally, coming to the height of your own ears. Good. Changing sides. Scooping the sea. Looking at the sky. Another element here is that we've got that push coming from that leg, but again we feel that expansion, belly to solar plexus to chest. And then once again, a loose fist and grasping the tiger's ears. One more time. Come back and just once again sit. Take a couple of slow, gentle breaths again if that's helpful for you. Then bringing your weight into your right hip, so I'm mirroring my movements again. Right hand here, in line with your shoulder. Bring the left hand underneath, as though you're holding the ball between your arms. You go forwards into your left turn, feel how the turn and the expansion in that side of your body guides your arm into place. Going back, holding the ball, move. And then same thing on the other side. One more time. Come back to sitting. What we find in this stance, whether it's seated or whether it's standing, is some of the basic qualities that we want to try and cultivate through the movements. Already talked about sung, releasing, and the awareness of the skeleton. Overall, one of the qualities that I think is really appropriate is to realise that when we lose tightness in our bodies, there's simply more space for movement. And that movement could be the joints and muscles, like you moving your arm. It would include things like circulation and breathing, but also importantly, this sense of an underlying movement, an underlying dynamic that feeds into all of the other movements. You can think of that in terms of subtle aspects of the way our body moves. That would include things like the fascia system, for instance. And so gradually getting a sense for how our body moves as one unit. And this is something that we want to take into the standing stances with us. And then preparing to stand again, rubbing the hands together and tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Onto one shoulder and your arm. The other side. Upper part of your chest. Your belly. And your legs. Now coming to standing. So we can begin to apply some of those what I described as memories, how particularly the upper body can feel in the standing. So there's an intention to reproduce those qualities. First of all, we want to find a stance that's more in line with the pull of gravity. And we can begin to get that sense of releasing, hopefully, in the upper part of the body. And going through this little exercise that we did in the chair, just drawing in and releasing around the central part of the body, lower back, hips, belly, buttocks. So just drawing in and releasing. So when we do this, once again, trying to get a sense for the quality of the movement that we associate with that, so that too becomes a focus for our intention. But a couple of points to really notice with this. One is when we release in the middle of the body, we tend to release through the rest of the body, or at least we start that process of release, and there may be things get in the way of that. Another is, and this is very important, that we get this very strong sense of dropping. We're not, the knees are curved, but they're not seriously bent. But we get that sense of our centre of gravity dropping. And this is one of the key things, of course, that gives us our stability. Lower your centre of gravity, the deeper your root, this is rooting down. And because you're doing this intentionally, there's a sense in which your thoughts are also beginning to ground. So this quietness in our mind is also an outcome of this releasing and rooting down. And this time, when you release, see if you can just let your hips drop back. Let gravity draw your hips back and down a little bit until you feel that compression in the legs responding by pushing you up. So yet another aspect of the process of rooting down is that it initiates a cycle of movement, a cycle of energy. Downwards with the pull of gravity, and this movement upwards that spreads upwards through your upper body. There are many different aspects to the body's energy. We get energy from the food that we eat, the air that we breathe. We get energy in all sorts of ways. There's all sorts of ways that energy is used within the body. Something that is very important in Tai Chi is what I would term this kinetic energy that builds. It's not the only thing that we work with, but it is very important. And it begins to underpin all the other movements. It's almost like the template for all the other movements. I mentioned earlier about how we can create space for movement, and that this sort of energy moves into that space and begins to just gently govern the other movements from within, as it were. Bringing your hands around as though you're cradling the ball. Pushing up, so the standing version of rooting down. Intention won't solve every problem. We still need to be aware of our posture, our alignment with the pull of gravity. So for instance, here, if as I sink down, I also lean forwards, that takes my centre of gravity forwards, and I'll end up straining in my back or my shoulders to prevent myself falling. All the intention in the world isn't going to stop you falling in that circumstance. You might have an intention to reproduce the quality in the upper part of the body, but it's not just as simple as intention. You've got to pay attention to your posture, what's going on physically in your body. So these three aspects of Tai Chi are the body, the mind, and the movement, the energy, really aren't separate. Sometimes we need to focus on one rather than the other, but none of them should be ignored. And then the wild goose. And parting the clouds. And shake out. So we don't want to see this art as just in one dimension. Yes, it's very concerned with what we might think of as energy, or very subtle movements and changes. Yes, the mind is very much involved, but so is the body. The example I sometimes give to people is, you might have a really lovely car, really well built and well maintained. You might put high quality petrol in it, might be a really good driver. But if the car has a flat tyre, you're still going to have to fix the flat tyre. There's no suggestion that it's all in the mind. There's no suggestion that it's all about the energy, because these three aspects of Tai Chi are three parts of a whole. I think of them as being like three legs of a tripod that you might put a telescope or a camera on. If you lose one leg, or one leg is bent, then it affects all the rest of the structure. So don't get so caught up with energy that you lose track of where your hips are and so on. Now, from the parallel stance, turn one foot out, step forwards with the other foot. Keeping the width of your step, you can see the background between my legs, and about the same in length. And then just begin to gently move your weight foot to foot, giving yourself a moment to settle, to release, to feel that compression of the leg, to feel the expansion, foot pushing down into the floor, moving your body. So again, this sense of a movement that arises from the ground via the structure of the body. The other thing about this is, as I've mentioned many times before, is that that moment of settling gives you a chance to, again, I mentioned earlier how it can ground your thoughts. It can bring your thoughts back to a point of stillness. Going into your back foot, raising your toes, and as you do this, you can have your foot slightly turned out now. And when you go forwards, you push your back knee in, and your body just shifts very subtly until it's more in line over one leg. And then step in, and as we did in the chair, push out, you put your heel down, lower the ball of the foot, gently push in, plant the foot, and move the weight. If it's the back foot, it's the ball goes down first, then the heel, then the planting. Being careful not to strain in your leg. So again, that applying that quality of releasing as you press the foot down, not straining in your knee or your ankle. Try that on the other side. So we're more likely to be able to release tightness in, say, our hips if we feel supported, and we're more likely to feel supported with the appropriate stance. You could try it like this, but it starts to feel as though you're trying to balance on a tightrope. So if one of the things to think about, if you're stiff in your hips, say, and you can't quite get that feeling of releasing, a really important question is, are my feet in the right place? Quite often they're not. But giving your body the best chance to release. And toes and heels starting to come up. In time, we learn that we can get this alignment, this route, in difficult circumstances, but this exercise is about establishing and reminding ourselves of the principle, and we do that in the best possible circumstances. Stepping in, and then step through. So you go forwards or backwards, and then where you have the space. And then changing direction. One thing you can do to sort of experiment with this is, once you've understood the principle, try it on awkward ground. If you can do so safely, maybe on a bumpy lawn, and see how your body can adjust. I suggest you do it standing next to something you could hold on to, but you're not stuck in one posture. But as I say, when we're doing a class like this, do make sure of the posture. Now, starting with your weight on your back foot, have your right foot forwards, ease forwards. As you go forwards, turn, and let that turn push your arms out, push your back knee in, and bring your foot in. Step through, plant the foot. As you go forwards, let your arms drop down, go into the front foot, bring the foot in. This is dragonfly skims the water. And what you may find that you're able to do, having brought the foot in, checking your posture, is raising your leg. Don't do that if it feels awkward or wobbly. And recognise that it is very dependent on your posture, your alignment. In that moment when your foot comes in here, so don't rush this. And then going back. This is more about, can we find alignment, maintain the quality of the movement, than it is about whether we're able to stand on one leg. One more time. And bring your feet back. Shake out. Go back to your chair. Just to follow up on what I was saying there, the standing on one leg bit comes last. What I want to do is to come in, and what I want to know is that I've got the alignment here. That may be significant, but this is more important. What I sometimes see people doing is they get to here, well, I've got to stand on one leg, and then they're all over the place. So go gently with that exercise. Give your awareness, your mind, your intention a chance to stay with the movement in that sense. Now, letting your hands drop down, coming back to a comfortable posture. Final exercise, embrace tiger, return to mountain. Pushing your arms up, bringing them around as though you're holding the ball against your chest. Drawing in, feeling your hips sink into the chair, your shoulders drop, your arms follow, everything just settling down nicely. And then again, one more time. And rest. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining in, and enjoy the rest of your day.